Good evening, everybody. We are coming at you live from the Liminal Pines. I am Alan, and this is the stream. This is something that we do quite often. I'm going to cut right to the chase, everybody. Yes, we are going to be studying some anatomy today. And no, I am not a master of drawing. I'm not a master of anatomy. I'm not a master of anything, but I guess I'm a master of one thing. I'm a master of learning. I'm a master of wanting to learn more. So today we have a goal in mind. We want to better understand how to draw people. And what are one of the ways we can learn to draw people? It's by studying anatomy. But then you raise the question, how do you study that anatomy? Do you go through medical textbooks? Do you just draw from life? Do you just copy other people's artwork? All of these things you can do, but what I have chosen particularly for my course of study is we're going to be looking at how to draw, how to artistically depict anatomy through the lens of the one George Bridgman, specifically constructive anatomy. A couple things I want to note before we get started, before we lay out the game plan for this evening's stream. George Bridgman is probably not the best person to learn from if you are a complete beginner. He's probably not even the best person to learn from if you're like an intermediate. I mean, I don't know. What am I? I would still consider myself a beginner. But the reason I chose Bridgman is that despite what everybody says about the way he writes and sort of how his drawings can sometimes be a little confusing, the reason I chose him specifically is because he seems to capture what it is exactly that I want to get from drawing people, drawing anatomy, and that is depicting the body in an anatomically correct way, but also an anatomically, aesthetically pleasing way. And what do I mean by that? I mean depicting the human body in a way that demonstrates its form, its three-dimensionality. Because you can draw the outer contours of a body, and you could be fine, but sometimes there's a little bit of sauce that we need to get out of the metaphorical sauce jar, right? That we can add to this delicious pasta dish. This is a terrible metaphor. Hold on, bear with me. But there is a certain sauce that Bridgman has access to that I would like to have a bit of. So that is the reason I chose Bridgman. And I guess I'm not a complete beginner because I do know that Bridgman can be sort of like hard to decipher. And how I'm going to tackle that is I know that I need to use other supplemental materials. And whenever those supplemental materials do come up, I will show you in my sketchbook because I'm taking notes, and we'll tackle that as we move on. If you have any questions about anything, I might be able to answer some of them. I can't guarantee that I'll be able to answer all of them, but I do guarantee you we will try and find the answer to them through research. Abe says, "Give me that sauce. More sauce for me, please, and thank you." But yeah, that's kind of what we're going to be doing here today. I get you'll see as we get into the current sketchbook with the notes, but we're gonna start with anatomy. I'm beginning with the torso, and I'm sort of working outwards because the torso is sort of the biggest mass and it holds the most weight. So that's sort of what I chose to start with. You could start with any part of the body, I guess. Most people start with the head, I'm assuming, but that's what we're going to be doing. So today's lesson is a lesson. I don't know. We're going to be focusing on the torso specifically. So that's what we're going to be doing. But before we do get completely started with drawing, all that drawing nonsense, that art nonsense, well, forget I just said that, because we're going to be taking a look at art. We're gonna do a little brief. I'm never brief. We're going to be doing a brief sketchbook tour for my latest sketchbook. I just did a short on it because I don't think I have the mental energy to make a long form video for every sketchbook from here on out. So I'm going to be doing them in chunks, but in the meantime, you'll get a short for the sketchbook tours, and during the streams you will get this. So that's the compensation. Okay, and if you don't like it, unsubscribe from the channel, dislike this video, report my channel. We're also gonna take a look at, this is a recent art thing that I have been working on. This is gonna be a framed piece. We'll take a closer look at that as well. So if anybody has any questions while we're going through, please pop it in the chat, and I hope to take you on a magical ride through Artsville. So I'm gonna resituate my things here momentarily. You're about to see my face for one. Yeah. You're about to see behind the scenes, because I don't feel like having to do everything. Boom, baby. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I just did that. We're also gonna do a little bit more. We're gonna go here and here. Okay, perfect. I would like to get a new light at some point. I'm really just using a cheap sort of ring light currently. In the future, I would like to get a nicer light, I think. You can see the sweat perspirating from my fingertips here. Okay, let's get started from beginning to end. This is my most recent sketchbook. This is my sketchbook. Sorry, I keep on bumping into my microphone right there. So if you see me bump into that, you'll probably hear it, and I apologize. I'll have my pencil here as a pointer. This is my August to October 2025 sketchbook. So what were my goals for this sketchbook? Obviously, we have more plein air forms and volumes, how to depict them, shape design, and stylization. And specifically for the stylization and, I don't know, like this entire section, I chose to study 3 artists. We have Kim Jung-gi for his simplification of line, Peter Han for his depiction of form, and Takehiko Inoue for his rendering. And that sort of encompasses these 2 things as well. Little sticker. Whenever I do start doing prints, whenever I start selling prints, you'll most likely get a Liminal Pine sticker just like this, so keep an eye out for that. We also have what am I thinking? What was that? I don't even know what that sentence was supposed to start, because I literally wasn't going to say anything. Sorry, I baited you with the transition. Anyways, starting the 10th of August, we have some plein air sketches of a little ATM. Whatchamacallit? I'm gonna get that a bit closer. For an ATM building. And then just some, I went on a hike. That's what those are. It doesn't look great. I'm not good at drawing rocks. I'm not good at drawing, period. So do with that what you will. We have, this is just, you'll see a few sketches in here of my living room. That is my lamp. And I was sort of, I don't even know what I'm trying to do with this. I guess I was trying to show the texture of the lampshade. I think that's good. Also like perspective and whatnot. Here we have just some preliminary Kim Jung-gi drawings, starting with a pencil under drawing and then like doing some line work on top of it. Here we have some more Kim Jung-gi studies. If you wait, give me a moment. I need to shut my door real quick. Apologies, my partner is taking a shower. I wasn't sure if you can hear it or not. Here we have, this is the Kim Jong-gi study, and then that's sort of doing the same position, but throwing my own twist on it. Here we have Higgs from Death Stranding 2 specifically. Was trying to get the shadow blocking with the hair specifically. I need to find a way to do that better, and I think I have a way, and I'll show you at the end of the sketchbook, but using a brush with just ink is just a lot faster and easier. Some more, these aren't Kim Jong-gi studies, these are actual sketches from me, and really trying to get that Kim Jong-gi-ism, those Kim Jong-gi-isms on the paper. I like this one. I didn't like it when I did it, but looking back on it now, I do like it. I like the cheekbone right there. I think that's a fun, interesting shape. We have some, a planar study. Not the best. I mean, I don't really have much to say about it other than I smudge the text. I do that a lot. Here we have, this is just from imagination. It's a thumbnail sketch. Anyone could do this from imagination, so I'm not even going to comment on it. And here we have a mock-up sketch for Harris and Ulysses from In Circles. Here we have some, I don't even know what I was trying to do here. This has nothing to do with studying the artist I want to study. I was just like, I want to draw some figures. Sometimes you get the itch, you know. There's this one. I like the black on the legs. I think that's fun. Some more figure studies. I like these two better than the others, mainly because they have an interesting perspective thing going on. This sketch, not so much. I mean, I don't really care for it. I think the line weight is just kind of off, but that's what a sketchbook is for. Here's another view from my living room. If you go through the sketchbook, you can pretty much map out my entire living area. Don't do that. That would be weird. Here we have a print. This is like a thermal sticker print of a digital art thing that I did. It's just the silhouette of it, though. I think if you go on the Discord, you can find that somewhere. Not the silhouette bit, but the actual drawing. I don't know what this is doing here. Get that out of here. We have these are some freehand Kim Jong-gi. I don't even know if you call them like studies. They're like so quick that I wouldn't even consider them studies, and I hated them at the time, but looking back on them, I think I was being a bit too hard on myself. It's just when you're comparing yourself to like the masters, it says, I can't draw. When you're comparing yourself to the masters, like it's easy to like through comparison to be like, this sucks, but like looking back on it, you can be like, okay, what did I do good at the very least? And that's what I'm trying to do. This is just a portrait. This isn't a copy of anything. This is just kind of like using a reference, but I like the way it turned out. I should have erased the pencil sketch underneath, but I like the softness that I got of everything. I'm trying to get away from doing sort of like the entire chin jawline whenever I'm doing portraits, just because I don't know, sometimes I think it's a bit more satisfying if you don't draw it. There's a bit of softness whenever you don't draw like every crease in a person's face. But obviously this guy's like an old dude, so I drew every crease in his face. This is like the only pop of color that you're going to see in this sketchbook too, by the way, so savor it while it's here. I do like this. I like this portrait quite a bit. I find that when I lock in and like do my proper construction Loomis heading, I can do like a somewhat good portrait. Here's one from imagination using sort of a Loomis head. No comment on it. Just a guy. Here we have some thumbnail sketches. These ones here are specifically from the Princess Mononoke art book. You can see it right there. I was looking at composition and sort of shape design, and you know, did I get anything good from it? Definitely like cross contours is like, you'll see me try and use cross contours more often now to depict form, and that's sort of one of the things I picked up from here. Here we have just some more thumbnails. These two are from photographs that I took. This one was of a millipede, and I was on a hike, and this one was just of a picture of the woods. And what I like about this one, I want to do a larger uh piece of art that's sort of inspired by this kind of, and what I mean is sort of like having like the large black background, but like having just the leaves be white. I like that concept, and you'll probably see that come to fruition at some point. I have an idea for it, and I kind of, maybe I want to try and do a print on it, but we'll see how it is before we do that. Here's just like this is a from imagination. I was sort of like, okay, what if we had a tree in a courtyard? And that's what I drew. Here we have my water, my coconut water. And yeah, it's just a plein air sketch. Nothing to say about it really. One thing I do want to say is these drinks right here, they have 55 milligrams of caffeine in them. I didn't know that, and I drink these all the time, and it makes sense now because after I drink them, I'm like, dang, I feel a little buzz, and it's because these have a little bit of caffeine because they have tea in them, and I'm stupid for not realizing that sooner. So beware, don't drink them late at night, or else you won't be able to sleep. Here we have some shapes. It says right there, work on contours, cross contours. Specifically, I guess a regular contour would be just like the outer edge. All right, but really trying to look at, okay, like how do we show that an object on a two-dimensional plane is round or square, has plane changes, and sort of cross contours help us do that. Here we have another plein air sketch. This is sort of like looking out of the window of a restaurant, and sort of exaggerated three-point perspective a bit to make it a bit more interesting, because it was pretty flat looking at it from the restaurant, but I was like, okay, I know I can push a bit here and sort of add some triangulation. We have another Kim Jong-gi portrait study. I think I did good with this one. Like I say, I think I did good. It's a copy of a much better artist, so it's like, of course it's gonna look good. I guess it's was I good at copying it? Yes, I think so. And this is just a sort of like a Loomis breakdown of what's going on here. Another portrait. Oh, drop my pencil. We have a portrait here. I regret that I went over it with this ink. I should have went around it. You know, I find that I like it better whenever I do ink washes. I think it's better to have sort of your dark be like the background, then have your subject be that pop of white. I think that's more striking than the other way around, because white is just so dominating. And I think having white as the accent instead just is more visually appealing. Loomis of this. We have a tree. I like this tree. Every time I look back on it, I'm like, oh, that's a really nice tree. I want to try, I think, see, sketchbooks are a great place for like ideas or like ideation. I probably will want to go back at some point and do this larger, because I think I did a pretty good job with it. I like the ink wash over it with like the leaves here. Love that tree. I know, it's so cool. I mean, it's from a reference, of course, so it's like, thank the tree, not me, for existing. But I think I like sort of the shape of it. You got triangle here, and then it sort of branches out, and you got triangles in the negative space, of course. But I love this trunk bit here, and I like how I did sort of the cross contours with it. Very satisfying, especially down here. But I think what I like most, other than the cross contours of the trunks, is I like the leaves. I think I have a tendency whenever I do trees to kind of just like do blobs for the leaves, and I was really trying not to do that here. I was trying to use more interesting sort of shapes, and I think I did a good job there. Here's another tree. This one doesn't really have any leaves. This one is just more like the trunk of the tree, sort of in a 3/4, not a 3/4, 3-point perspective. Again, focusing on those cross contours. We want to show that this is a big round thing. I want to be able to reach my finger out and just like touch it, feel it, you know? Like, is it smooth? Is it gnarled? Is it round? Is it straight? Is it flat? sort of what I want to, like that textural quality I'm very interested in capturing. We have a twig. I was sort of like holding it like a cigarette, you know, like this. If you could imagine that, use your imagination. That right there. Drawing in my hand, and this was like a chunk of bark that I found on the ground. You know, I was bored. You know, I was just sitting outside and I was bored. Here's, I think it's this same tree, or it was one adjacent to this tree, and I was trying to frame it a bit better composition wise, and I enjoy how it turned out. Here we have a bunch of nonsense. I'm a big nonsense kind of guy, so we draw a bunch of nonsense here. Here we have just a figure. Yeah, don't like this one. Forget that one exists. This one I'm alright with. I think I got the pose good, and the negative space feels good, and I think the character, the head is good. I sort of made that up. This is like, I'm imagining if this was like a punk rocker dude. I was like, I don't even know what you would call this guy. This would be like punk, but like I'm thinking like street punk. Maybe he has a motorcycle, or maybe he wishes he had a motorcycle and he's just LARPing as a guy who owns a motorcycle. But I'm thinking like maybe he like is part of like a gang or something, or a wannabe gang in sort of like a fictional city, and he's like running with these crooked, nasty people, and he wants to beat them up, but like deep down he's just like this is boring. I'd rather be riding a motorcycle right now. Yeah. Here we have this one. I mean, that's all right. I got the position's good. Line quality is just yeah. I like this one right here. I do quite like the pose here. Again, and the reference to the pose, so I didn't really have to do a lot of invention, but I feel like I did a good job getting sort of that outer contour silhouette pretty good. We have it's a portrait, trying to be very simple with the lines. I run into a lot of issues when I'm doing like lips. It's like, how do you do lips? It's like, do you just do a line, or yeah, I don't know. And I guess it depends on the character, of course, but I lean more towards like doing just the line, maybe with an indication of a bottom lip. It depends though. For this one though, she did have quite a large upper lip, protruding upper lip, so I wanted to pay some homage to that. This one right here, I like the shapes here. I think I got the line weight pretty good. I like the line weight on this one. Portrait. This one's like in it's from a reference, but I sort of like did the rendering myself. But I was heavily inspired by Inoue, as you'll see. It's a big thing. I cannot shut the hell up about Takehiko Inoue, but it's because I'm so drawn to him, and I wanna express that. But yeah, I was really just trying to get he does this thing often where he'll sort of get the plane change marked with some thin lines, and then he'll just do some very simple hatching for the side plane of the face. Same thing with the nose. But that's what gives it form, and I quite like the way he does it. We have Ulysses from In Circles. Again, not the final hymn, but I'm trying to like, it's like, do I have an art style? It's like, sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I have an art style. But then other times I'm like, I don't have an art style. If you think I have an art style, please let me know what you think it is. Because like, I look at my stuff and I just see like an amalgamation of just like a bunch of other people's stuff. But I mean, I guess this is the closest to like my style that you'll get here. Yeah, I don't know. But the eyes are a little wonky, but I don't even know what to say here. Portraits of fictional characters, because like this one wasn't even, I used like a picture of myself for like the pose, but other than that, just there. More Kim Jung-gi studies. Quite like him as an artist. Very, very fun shapes, fun line work, and sort of, it's very simple how he shows form, but he does it very, very, very well. With relatively few lines, or rendering for that matter. Here we have some portraits. Nothing. I don't have much to say about them. Here we have. I was like, okay, what if I just did a portrait with I was like focusing very heavily on sort of like line weight, but also like sort of really focusing heavily on cross contours, shadow blocking. That's what that is. Right there. This is Robert Pattinson from The Lighthouse. I think I didn't like I didn't I have a tendency to squash heads sort of vertically. So this is a victim of that. I'm so sorry. And I'm working on it. I'm trying to catch myself when I do that in the sketch phase. Form wrapping, not really much to say with that other than like trying to think of sort of these 2D images as three-dimensional shapes. Same thing with these right here. This is another iteration of what we saw earlier with the form studies, but we have sort of these cross contours that show the topology of the shapes. There's sketch. This one is I think it's, I can't remember if it's of a statue of an actual person, but I was really paying attention to the direction of my hatching for this one, trying to use a lot of horizontals, and then of course for the lips we have like some like the direction of the shape of the top lip. This is from imagination. I feel like I did good with that. It's hard to draw from imagination, so I was like, okay. let's draw something. We have just a concept for like a character thing. I want to do like character art. I think that would be very fun to do. So this is sort of just like an ideation of that, specifically of Ocelot from Metal Gear Solid 3. Portraits. You'll hear me say portraits. Take a shot every time I say portraits. This one's using a brush. It's either a brush pen or I think it's my fountain pen with the food nib. This is my brother. He was eating lunch with me, so this is a plein air of my bro sitting in front of me. That's what he looks like. I made him look more rugged than he actually is. I think it's funny. And this is my partner that was sitting in front of me. Here's a sort of a just drawing of Ocelot from Metal Gear Solid 3 spinning his gun. And then I was like, okay, what if I frame that? If I were to frame it, that's probably how I would frame it if we were thinking of it as like a scene, right? Portraits using lots of vertical lines for shadows, keeping it simple. We have a portrait. This is not copying a specific artist, but this is just like a me sketch. But I was like playing around with line weight and hatching and everything, as you can see there. I don't like how thick I made the jawline. That's my bad. Here, yeah. I don't know, I want to incorporate more hatching and sort of scribbles into my art, because I think it offers a lot of textural quality that like sort of that like, oh my goodness, where are we? Like these sketches are missing. I like the Kim Jung-gi's simplicity, but I also like sort of like the heavy hatching rendering of something like Kino-En. This was from a stream. You can go back and watch that stream where we were talking about plein air sketching and how I did it. Here's from The Last Guardian. This is like a drawing of a screenshot from The Last Guardian, and yeah, this is Trico from that game. Plug for a video on my channel. I wrote a video essay over The Last Guardian, so please go and ow. Just poke the hell. I need to stop playing. I've just poked the hell out of my hand with my pencil. Am I bleeding? No. I'm just being a wimp about it. But yeah, there's a video on my channel about The Last Guardian, and it's about environmental design and philosophy and sort of rumination and the script. Listening to the video again and again and again, the script isn't perfect. I repeat things just a bit too much, but we all have our mistakes and can't be perfect with everything, so take that and move on forward. We have a Peter Hahn study. This is like an anglerfish or like a whatever fish. I don't even know what fish this would be. But specifically this fish that he does right here, I just thought it was so cool because you have all these different like simple shapes coming together to sort of like make this very visually interesting sort of like fish. There's a lot of fun hatching going on here to show form, and so I wanted to sort of take some notes on that, do a study of it. Here I have a planar sketch of a tree, a tree, well, a bois, a tree. A lot of trees. I really like trees. I find trees are very common in nature, so I do draw a lot of trees, especially when I'm like out and about. Here we have another Peter Hahn study. This is of that Monkey King, Sun Wukong. And I was really paying attention to sort of like how he uses brush strokes to show form. He uses a lot of, like, I guess what you would consider like squiggles and like lines to show like how sort of the body twists, and especially with like fabric, he keeps it looking very sort of rugged but also defined. I like that. Here's a macaque that I drew. He said cock. Okay, let's calm down, please. A macaque is a monkey, and I was just sort of trying to do the macaque in the same, like, doing the same face as that right there, pretty much. These monkeys are really cool. They do look like people, so I could see like sort of like why yeah, I can see why the Monkey King is often depicted as a macaque, because they do look very cool. I think this is another macaque, I'm pretty sure. There's some whimsical looking monkeys, so if you want to see some whimsy in a monkey, go and look at these guys. This is a me sketch. Really just playing around with form and stuff. Line weight specifically, I like the line weight on this one. I do find it to be very visually pleasing, and sort of the perspective on it is also very fun. I like how this back leg back here is kind of just very minimally rendered. It's just kind of some hatching, but it doesn't need to be detailed because it's not the focal point. This is a planar sketch of like a farmhouse. I was out and I was like, okay, let's draw this little farmhouse. This is an old guy looking grumpy. Met a lot of old guys who are grumpy in my life, so that's him. Kind of not the biggest fan of like the styling on this one, but I guess I was paying more attention to like the expression more than anything. This is like taking sort of those form studies from earlier and applying them to like actual objects, breaking them down into simpler shapes while also keeping that wireframe the wireframe cross contouring. Yeah, I like this vase right here. I like the hammer. I think the hammers look good. Yeah. Same thing here. This is of a nail polish thing, and I think it's like nail polish remover. I'm pretty sure. We're drawing it from different angles. Another study. You can sort of see my lack of anatomy knowledge that we're having right here. Also, my lack of just like line control, because it's kind of like the dark outline all the way around. It's not visually pleasing whatsoever. Here's me breaking it down into simple shapes. Oh, speaking of simple shapes, we have more simple shapes. This guy just can't stop drawing simple shapes, but you gotta, because it's important. I like the peach and the lemon and sort of the apple. I like the organic shapes here. I think I did a good job with those, and then the others are kind of just, they're just here. Oh, hey, that's from the other piece of artwork. These are my thumbnail sketches of the artwork that I was doing, and you can sort of see how the process. I'll show you the process of it because we have a couple iterations of sketches, but we have the thumbnailing, the inking over the thumbnail to sort of like sync it up a little bit better, and then you'll see more of it after that. Yeah, we have a study of Takiko Inoue. This is of a character who is in the manga, and we are showing how he sort of like does faces, but like particularly what direction is he hatching most of the time. When it comes to the organic forms, he'll follow the cross contours around the form of the object. But when it comes to sort of like harsh directional shadowing, he'll sort of like follow the direction of like the form, yeah, but he'll like keep it pretty simple uh, for the direction of the light source. And then when it comes to fabric, he sort of just keeps it going one direction, so as not to clash with any of this right here. And we have more portraits a la moi, a la moi. This one, like I don't know, like I don't care for the like my line weight here. Like I should have paid better attention to it, but it's better in that like the face isn't like heavily aligned like the outside, but I think I just did it a bit too much here. This one I don't have as much of an issue with because I went a bit more rugged with the line quality everywhere else, so it's like I feel like it's not as egregious as this one. Also, I simplified the eyes, maybe a bit too much. We have a figure portrait. The lines kind of suck, I know, but I recognize that. I was really mainly paying attention to the pose and the perspective. So yeah, we have another Inoue study. I don't know how, but every time I look at this, I'm like, how did I screw up the construction here? Because like clearly his brow line is right here, so it's like, oh, his chin should be like angled like that right there, but for some reason I tilted it this way, and I can't unsee it because I'm stupid. But yeah, we're paying attention to things like line weight, and hatching direction. When it comes to like sort of like soft transitions in the form, he'll just do the hatching and he won't do any sort of other lines. But for this, you can see right here, just have the hatching. Good thing to note down. We have some tea kettles, some screws, and some fishies, and a can that I will turn into a sticker eventually. I will do that. We have another Inoue. You'll see a lot of Inoue. God, I feel like I'm like obsessed with this guy. I've never met him my entire life, but really paying attention to that line weight with this one. Construction too, obviously, but definitely the line weight. Very fair for the most part. Some more. Is it like a fish? Well, a fish on a hook? I don't know. Trying to like keep the lines all of a similar width, but trying to use hatching to show the form a bit better. Same thing with the can. I don't even know who these guys are. It's a fish, an angry fish. Drawing a figure. I was just itching, like I've been every now and again I just get the itch to like draw like people in full, and this is sort of that. And like the line quality isn't the best. The pose is alright, but the line quality isn't the best, and the shadow mapping could have been a bit better, but that's alright. We have Toshiro Mifune from, this is from Yojimbo, no, Seven Samurai, sorry, I'm getting my Kurosawa films. I did feel like I did a good job with the line weight on this one, especially the hand. I think I really like the hand, the way I did that there. But other than that, I also like this little thing, don't know what it is, but I feel like that's very satisfying to look at. This is like an ancient pot. This is also like an ancient pot. I don't know, I got it from like a museum repository website. A little scary mask. Disregarding all of this. This is Yang from Sifu. Sort of like a, I was like, I always like doing the downturned head thing. I think doing like a downturned head for a pose is always like kind of cool and sort of like looking up. It's like aura. It's like aura farming. Is that what kids say? Mother, I went outside today. I aura farmed the entire time. Did you play with your friends at all? You could say that we played, but you know, we aura farmed. Oh, well, where did you aura farm? You know, we aura farmed at the park. We aura farmed at the movie theater. And then I guess the mother would be like, well, did you aura reap anything? Because, you know, farmers reap what they sow, and they say, the son says, no, we did not. And that's the end of that bit. And this is the beginning of me talking about this portrait right here. This is Yang from Sifu again. So the same guy as the guy before. And I did a digital rendition of this right here, which you can see on the Discord, which I have linked in the description right now. So go check that out. It looks a little different than this. More shapes. Not much to say about that. Another portrait. Playing around with more so playing around with like simplifying facial features here. This is Ryan Gosling from Drive, I think, and I hate it. I don't like it. The hatching sucks, and the line weight sucks. The pose is alright, but everything else just kind of sucks. That's okay. Here we have another Inoue study. This one specifically, he did this thing where he really just did cross contour hatching to show the form of the face. Not a lot of heavy line work in this one here, and I think it looks amazing. When he did it, I feel like I did an alright job doing it, but when he does it, it like looks great. It has this like glow to it, and I guess what that is there's not like a harsh transition from white to black. It's sort of like white to gray, so it's sort of like it has this it looks a bit lighter. I think that looks very cool. I'm trying to take a lot away from this portrait study right here specifically. Here we have this is I think it's Vin's. I think that's his name in the movie. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen Lion, but this is that character. He sort of acquires a firearm from a troubled third party, and he's sort of messing around with the gun. I think I do like this portrait quite a bit. I feel like I did the hand good. I think it looks great, and I think the gun looks great. I think the line weight is on point, just all around. I quite like this section right here. Like, maybe you could do that as like a sticker. You know, if I were to like crop this, I could just have that as like as just like a thing. You know what I mean? We'll think about it. We will think about it. More drawing forms. Kind of just like it. This is like a vomit page. Of course, I do a lot of vomit pages, but some milk cartons, whatever this thing is, a fire hydrant, whatever, man. Ow! I keep on poking myself. I keep this pencil is freshly sharpened, so I keep on poking my skin with it. I'm gonna get lead poisoning or something, graphite poisoning. Here's I think it's Sandra Bullock in Speed. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen Speed, but this is from the movie Speed with Keanu Reeves. Not much to say about that right there. We have some freehand sketches, so not doing a pencil under drawings, or sort of just like trying to freeball it. And you can see my innate sense of construction is very flawed, so I definitely need to do sketches underneath if I want to get it perfect the way I want it to be. That's the same thing with these right here. Here we have another plein air sketch, another tree, because damn, I love drawing trees. They call me Mr. Tree. What I like about this one mostly is I feel like I did the tufts of leaves in a satisfying way. Some of them are dark because they're in the background, but some of them are light because they're in the foreground of the tree. Timothy Chalamet from Wonka, aka the man who willied his Wonka. That's him. I don't like the line weight on this one, or the hatching for that matter. I don't really like this sketch, if I'm being honest, so I'm not gonna really talk much about it. I think it just looks silly. It just looks silly. We don't like silly things on this channel. We're very serious on this channel. Here, I was trying out, I was like, there's this one artist that I follow on YouTube, and he was talking about using just he was doing it digital, but he was using just like a fuzzy light brush to just do the core shadow, and I thought it looked really cool. So I was like, okay, how do we do that with just like a pen? And it's like, okay, you do hatching. So it's sort of doing hatching to show just the core shadow of a form, and that sort of can define the three-dimensionality of an object. This is new for the channel. I don't think I've shown any of this off in a stream before. These are sketches from the imagination, and some of them, like this one, look all right. This one looks all right, and then the rest don't look that good. So I don't really have the only penciling that you'll see here for a full page. That is. Here is this past week or like I said, it was a week ago. Yeah, I went on a train ride through Tennessee to Georgia, and so it was like about like a 3.5 hour long trip, and so I occupied my time by doing a plein air sketch of the train. So this is sort of the seat across from me. There's a person sitting here. I didn't draw the person, but I was really trying to frame it, get the perspective down. Yeah. There were these old ladies on the train who were like, "Oh my gosh, are you drawing?" And I showed them drawing. They were like, "Can I pay you to draw me something like this?" And I was like, "I don't really have any extra paper." And they were very understanding. So thank you, ladies, for offering of money in exchange for goods and services. Here we have another plein air sketch. This time it was me on the looking outside of the window from a different angle. Sort of I like the perspective on this one, and I think I like the white here contrasted with the gray of everything else, and sort of you can see the woods outside, which is sort of had to do from imagination because of course we were on a train and we were moving the entire time. Here was just, this is the vomit page. You'll see a lot of vomit pages from me, messing around with my brush pen, and yeah, not really much to say there. Okay, here we have, okay, these are ugly, and I'm so sorry. But you know, at the end of every sketchbook, I do self-portraits. And for the sketchbook, since I looked at 3 artists, I was like, okay, what if I did a portrait for each artist that I studied? So this is my Kim Jung-gi, and this is my Peter Han, and I think they both look very bad. So I'm sorry to those artists for like LARPing their style. Not LARPing. Yeah, I was LARPing as them for stealing their style and making it look awful. Yeah. Oh, you like the train sketches? Well, thank you. I enjoyed doing them. I had a bit more time than usual to like do them, so it's like I put in a lot of effort for like just like scribbling with the pen. But I like this one too. I do like the framing of this one, and I sort of, yeah. So thank you. But this one, trying to do like the Kim Jong-gi thing, maybe a bit too over rendered, and I look old because I did too many wrinkles, and yeah, leave it to me to overwork a piece though. So this is nothing new here. So like the thing with like Peter Han, it's like he's very similar to Kim Jong-gi in a lot of ways. He's like if Kim Jong-gi had access to a watercolor brush or like an ink wash, and he like scribbled a bit more. So I was trying to do that a bit here, and I think I went a little overboard with the outlining on it. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about that one. I just I don't love the way it looks. Yeah, but I do like the way that this one looks right here. Ooh, I'm very proud of this one. So what I did was I took a photograph of myself doing a little pose. No, I'm not going to show you the picture because it looks silly. So I drew that out, and I was like, I gotta make it look cooler. So I went and found this is the outfit that Ashitaka wears in Princess Mononoke. So I was like, I'm just gonna draw myself wearing that outfit. So that's kind of what I'm wearing here. And then I wasn't wearing a bandana. The bandana is from imagination, but I put a bandana on myself because I'm bald, and I look stupid when I draw myself, so I put a bandana on to cover that up. And then I went and I did like the Inoue-isms with the cross contour hatching. Yeah. And then I went with a black brush with ink, and I did the background, and that's what I'm talking about when I say like I that's the easiest way to do black fills. It's literally just with a brush and pure black ink, and it comes out pretty flat, pretty matte, which I'm happy about. And also I was able to go over with my I have like a white gel pen to do white over, so that's what I did there. And sort of this thing that Inoue does in Vagabonds, the manga, is that he'll draw like the breath bubbles a lot, and he'll sort of like show little speech balloons as they like huff whenever a character is like breathing heavily, and so I wanted to pay homage to that. And yeah, that is the final sketch of the sketchbook. This is kind of just like a backsplash page, and it's an in circles thing. Only real ones will get it. Only real ones will understand. That's kind of what that is right there. And then yeah, that is the sketchbook. Wow, 1 hour in and we haven't done a single. I keep on poking myself with a pencil. Damn it! Now look, I'm already bleeding. How am I bleeding right there? I don't even know. I don't even know. I'm just like, I'm falling apart. A paper cut could end me. So yeah, that was the sketchbook. I'll pop that off to the side. So, and I'll show off the other artwork that I was working on that you saw the thumbnail sketch too. This is a prelim sketch still, so I'll show you the process by which like I did this right here. So it started with the thumbnail sketch, and then this is taped back here because I was using my light board. No, don't tear too much. It's delicate work. At least we know that tape holds well. It is washi tape. So what I did is I did the thumbnail sketch, and then I took tracing paper and I did a rough perspective sketch of what I was doing, and that was to get the framing and the perspective correct. Oh, so I drew a bunch of around right here. I drew my frame, sort of the clearance with the frame. That's what this is. The frame goes there, but I allow myself to draw a little bit outwards, so like the framing has a little bit of leeway. And then I went and I did. Is it supposed to face? No, it's supposed to face that way. And then I went and I drew sort of my grid, or my because this isn't using like 3-point perspective. It's just a 2-point perspective, so we're always going to have parallel lines like this, right? And then I went through and I blocked in the big shapes, and then I went in, and after I did that sketch, I went over with the pen, and then I drew in sort of like how I wanted to do the inking. That's what you see right here. Some mistakes here, but that's what the point of this one is. This was going over that sketch on my light board with just a pen, and then sort of messing around a bit more with that. I fixed the perspective right here on that side of the building. I sort of fixed up sort of the foliage a bit more, tried to make it a bit more coherent. Sort of down here, I was trying to figure out how to like do this better. Still don't know if it's perfect. We'll fix that in the final sketch though. And then I was like, okay, like what do I want to do with the sky? Because I don't want to leave it just blank. So I figured I'd do this sort of like wave thing, but don't draw lines in between. So yeah, you'll have sort of this like layering of hatching, and it's very textural. And then I was like, okay, like there needs to be, it feels a bit empty. There needs to be something up here. So I was like, okay, what if we had like a moon right here? Or maybe it's a sun. I don't know. But I was like, okay, I probably in the final sketch, I'll probably move it over left and then down a bit more. But I also think I'm going to have it be white, not black, because it sort of stays in line with sort of like this right here not having any line work or anything. It's like the negative space will inform the shape right there. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. And the more I look at this right here, when I was working on it, I was like, oh, I don't really care for it. But now that I've taken some time and I've come back to it, I'm like, okay, like I kind of see it. Like I kind of like see it coming together a bit more. So that is what this is, and I'll keep you up to date whenever I do finish it. I'll show it to all of you. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Make sure it's secure. I'm gonna go put it up. Okay, actually, I'm gonna leave this here for a moment. I'm gonna go, and we've been doing this for an hour. Yeah, you're right. It has been an hour. I know what you're saying. Alan, you spend too much time talking. Yes, I agree. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take a little break. Gonna sort of stand up and stretch. I recommend that you do the same. When we come back, we are going to, oh my god, we're gonna do some anatomy. We're gonna look at some anatomy. So bear with me. Until then, I'll see you in just a second. I'm gonna stretch, walk around for a minute, and get something to drink. So see you in just a sec. Okay, and we are back, and we are going to quit the yapping and get to drawing. Whee! Um, I do hope that everyone watching is able to appreciate my unique insight into mundane topics or mundane things, and I hope you can forgive me for taking forever to get into things, just because I do like talking quite a bit. Um, but I compensate because I don't have a lot of people to talk about art in my with my in my like life, so I I substituted with like talking to you guys about art. So that's why like I like talk more at the beginning of streams. Okay, here's what we got here. I think I'll show off. I guess I'll show off the book first. So this is George Bridgman's Constructive Anatomy. And yeah, I mean, nothing else to say other than like getting into it. So what I did is I read the foreword, which was about general anatomy. Very short, very easy read, and that's all that I drew there. Here we have just in his book. It's very simple to understand. He really just talks about sort of like he talks about antagonistic forces within the human body, how like there's weight distribution for every action, there's like a opposite action, so you need to consider that whenever you are drawing the figure. These are just his sketches. These are literally just sketches of like the body, and this is sort of like showing how you can break the body down into sort of like cubes and stuff. He does it very nicely, of course. Here we have just more of that, yeah. And then he gets straight into drawing the hand, which no, I'm not doing that right off the bat because I feel like that's not very important for anatomy to start with the hand. So what I did is I skipped on over to the torso. This torso starts on page 111, and he talks a lot about in very like dense, hard to read terms. He talks about the torso, and you can see I have my notes here, where I just says it's incomprehensible as text, which is very true. Like if you're looking at this just as text, it is kind of incomprehensible. It's really hard to visualize. Sorry, my cat is jumping on my artwork. But those are sort of my like marking up. Here we have this is how he draws the torso from the front, or like the markings. You have, of course, the full torso. You have sort of this line that separates the abdominal arch and the oh my gosh, what are these called? The magnus serrati or something like that? No, the serratus magnus. Sorry, that would be these right here. So the serratus magnus into the abdominal arch, and sort of you draw a line there, and it defines where your serratus magnus ends and your obliques begin. Yeah, and so you have sort of like chest. This is like the rib cage too. If you were to look at a rib cage, that's where the rib cage would sort of do its natural curve. It's exaggerated here, of course, for purposes of demonstration. You have the serratus magnus drawn as a simplified form with the 3 ribs that you can see poking through where they corner out and extend back into the body. And he shows sort of like by darkening the plane changes that happen with that. So the markers that we look for when we're drawing the torso. Same thing with that right there. So we see hatching equals shadows equals plane change. And he sort of simplifies it even more right here. He does a lot of simplification. It's very hard to decipher sometimes, but we're trying to pay as much attention to it as possible. And here's where he's breaking down the anatomy into like its actual like constituent parts. You have the pectoralis major, the deltoid, the rectus abdominis, serratus magnus, and external oblique. But you also have like the pectoralis minor, because the pecs are actually like 2 sets of muscles. You have they sort of like do there's like some overlapping, and it's like their insertion points are a bit different. So yeah, that's what we got there. Really, it seems a bit complex, but I guess like I have like a lifting experience, like, so it's like I kind of have a general understanding of like what all of these muscles do. It's just how do you draw them is the big thing. So that's what we got going on here. So we have Bridgman's drawings here. We're going to go ahead and we are going to, I guess, we're going to take a look at my notes that I have in my sketchbook. One thing that I want to touch on is that when it comes to Bridgman, I'm not really looking on like drawing like anatomy 1 for 1. It's like I could, hey, stop it. My cat is just eating everything. uh, I don't want to like draw everything one to one. Like my goal is not ultra realism, but my goal is like the masses themselves, and like I want them to be accurate but also visually pleasing. So that's what I have been trying to do. Oh, postcard. Here we have the notes. You can read that if you want, but that sort of like outlines my goals of the sketchbook, and then straight into sort of like my notes on the torso. And I begin with like, what do I know? Okay, here are the things that I know. And then we have like, what do I not know? What do I want to learn? And then we jump into notes from the reading over here. And so you can pause and read this if you want, but these are sort of the things that I garnered from reading those sections of the book. And that goes into here, which is doing a little copy study of Bridgman's drawing that he had over there, sort of making it a bit more comprehensible with like pointing and everything. Of course, like the source, and then like sort of like what are the purposes of these muscle groups, and that's sort of what we got going on right here. And here we have, because again, Bridgman can be very hard to decipher sometimes. What we have here is, what is it that Bridgman is doing? It's like, as you saw at the beginning of this textbook here, it's that, okay, visually, or I guess in his imagination, he is sort of treating the body as sort of like the torso as sort of like two blocks that are connected by this stretchy spine, or like the abdominal muscles. That's what he's simplifying it into, and that can sort of bend, twist, and turn. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do here, and that's what this video talks about. Modern Day James, it's a really good video. Go and check it out on YouTube, but it's his deciphering Bridgman's anatomy. Isn't that the title of this streamer here? I don't remember what the title of the stream is, but it's deciphering Bridgman's anatomy, and it's sort of this is sort of what he talks about in it. And so I was just kind of, from references, I was drawing just the boxes and like how they connect with the spine. They're not perfect, as you can see, as far as like proportion goes, but the idea is there. So keep that in mind as we go into the next page. We have what I worked on earlier today. These are my from reference sketches, sort of using the few things that I read about in the sketchbook. Yeah, they're quite messy, but I wasn't trying to be like very clean. I really was trying to sort of like show those markers, but also like I was thinking about things like straight versus curved lines, stuff like that, twists and turns and whatnot. So these aren't visually like pieces of art, but I was really focusing on sort of like depicting the form of the trunk. That's sort of what we got there. The choice of drink today is zero sugar mug root beer. Probably the best soda known to mankind. And that is where we are today. And what we're going to be doing for the drawing portion of this stream for the next 45 minutes or so, we are going to be doing pretty much just this right here. So I'm going to pull up my reference images that we're going to be using, and we're going to be drawing those on some paper that I have. So let me go ahead. Feel free to draw along, of course. Go ahead. This is the paper that we're going to be using. I'll try and relay. If you have questions, please feel free to ask, but I'm gonna try and relay while I'm drawing things I'm looking out for when I am doing said drawings. Oh, deep breath, because I'm so overweight. I can't move without taking heavy breaths. Pencils. Got my needed eraser. Need I say more? Needed I say more? Let me go ahead and I'll pull up our reference images here. We're going to be using the website. It's called Line of Action. This is the website that I use a lot for like figure drawing. A lot if I just need to do like if I'm going to be doing sort of figure sketches, I'll always come to this website. Let me go ahead and pull that up here. So this is what we got going on for the Line of Action website. I'm gonna pull that like over here. So this is what I do with this website. It's called Line of Action, but you can select all the types of models that you want to see. I have it to, for purposes of YouTube, we're going to be looking at covered models only. We're going to be looking at all genders. Doesn't matter what orientation. And as you can see right here, just these images alone within these constraints, there's 3,171 images. So you're not going to be strapped for unique posing. And this is what we got here. Not really a this isn't really a pose per se, but you sort of get you can get the idea of what we got going on here. So this is pretty much what we're going to be using as our reference images here today. Move that around right here. I'm gonna sort of maybe doing this right here. So let's just do some drawing. This is what we're gonna be doing here. Again, if you have questions, we're probably gonna do 4 sketches. We're probably gonna do one here, then on the other half of the page, we're gonna be doing another one, and then 2 more on another sheet of paper like this. And that's what we're gonna be doing here today. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna start with. So this is what I try and do whenever I'm like, I say it like I've been doing it for a long time. I've really only been doing it for the past like week or so. But here's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to break down this pose into, you start with sort of like your line of action. Plug for the website. I know. We got our line of action. He's sort of like doing a little curve right here. Right? That's sort of like going to be like our quote unquote spine. Right? And then what I'm doing basically is I'm going through and I'm sort of trying to pick out those like 2 masses. So we have the chest. That's where our pecs are mainly going to be. I didn't mean to make that mark there. That's kind of where our pecs are meant to be. Right? Of course, our line of action does a little curve. Down there, we see a bit of, there's some foreshortening going on here, and that's great. And sort of, if we're looking at, I like to, for these, it's really easy to use the like underwear as like a guide to like how we're looking at it. So we know that this form is sort of pointed away from us because the underwear is sort of like doing this little curve upwards if we were to think of it as like a cylinder, right? So we know that we're looking at the pelvis from a tilted view. And it's pretty straight on. We're not really getting much of the side of it. So we're going to be showing it as sort of like this block right here. And that's kind of how I'm simplifying the overall bend, but also like the 2 masses right here. Is this perfect? Proportionally? No, probably not. And that's something that I'm going to need to reconcile as I move closer and closer into my studies, but this will be good enough for what we're doing here now. This is getting the point across, right? So like how did I come up with these shapes? talked about how I got this one right here, but if you're talking about like how we're doing this one right here, what I'm looking for is like, okay, like if you're seeing the top of his shoulders, you're probably seeing the top plane of the body, so that's why we're seeing that there, and we're not seeing much of the side of his body, so that's telling me we're sort of like only seeing that front plane. But because like the body is like a little like curving like trunk all the way up, of course we'll see that change as we sort of like get to the side of the body right here, but that's not too important right at this moment. We're gonna take our knated eraser, sort of like get rid of our, not get rid, but sort of, I'm gonna lighten up our lines here. Just so the entire thing isn't isn't just construction lines. I mean, we do want to do some like anatomy here. I'm really looking for is we have the curve of the spine. I guess the arch of the spine that'll sort of, it looks like it's falling like right here, and then the that's the abs, the abdominal wall, and it's sort of curving like that right there. We have the pecs. See the pecs? They rest right above the arch, right here. If we look at Bridgman's model, that's 111. If we look at Bridgman's model, see right there, you have the arch. That's the rib arch, of course, but it's also where the abs start, and then the chest sits above that. The pectoralis major and pectoralis minor, that's sort of where they rest. So that's going to tell me that it starts right there. One thing we do know is that in the center of this box, we are going to have the sternum, because no matter what, your sternum is going to fall the center of your chest. So that's what we're garnering from that right there. The chest is sort of, because of gravity, this individual, his chest is sort of puffing out a little bit because it's being drawn to the ground, but also there is some muscle there. So we do see he's also raising his arm up there, so it's pulling the skin right there. But we have the arch, we have the chest. No. And then we're not really focusing on the arms right here. We'll go ahead and we'll socket those in right here. Those are just some like loose sockets right there. But one thing we can do with the chest is, because the sort of the pectoralis major and minor, they connect to the arm, so there is going to be some overlap there. We're not going to worry too much about the shoulders right now. We're just going to display the arm as sort of like a sphere, right? It's kind of very straight. Let's sort of like do a bit of a curve right there. It's going to be the one arm, and then the other arm is like up here. We're not worried too much about the arms right now, of course. What we do know is that the deltoids are going to sort of rest right here with the shoulders, but the pecs are also going to connect to the arms. They have this like overlap going right here, especially since we're viewing it from the top. So that's what we're showing right there. This pec is like stretched, of course, up here. We got that going into the deltoids. The back flattens right there because, of course, we have the neck. And he has his shoulder blades retracted back a little bit. Then there's quite a bit of foreshortening going on with his trunk right here, and there's a lot of stretch. Not a ton of squash though. So we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna show with some hatching that we're having a bit of a plane change right there. We could draw each of the abs separately here. I don't really feel the need to do that right here. I feel like that would be a bit, not redundant, but I feel like that's a bit too much. It's like I could draw each ab individually. That's kind of not what I'm looking for, so I'm going to forego that at the moment. But you have sort of, you can see the abs right here. There's this sort of like arch being made right here, especially as his sort of abs are being crunched up a little bit. And he's got a little belly button. Got a little belly button going on right there. Another thing we do know, this wasn't really covered in the notes that I took, but I do know that there is a collarbone that's right here, and we're sort of going to see that it creates a bit of a V shape because we're looking at it from the top. It's going to flatten out maybe a little bit, but it will follow laws of symmetry right there. It's not the biggest thing we're looking out for, though. Another thing I want to look for, or I want to look out for when we are doing these sketches, is kind of like, how can we use straight lines and curved lines to our advantage? And I think the big thing we want to see with that is that straight lines sort of like show structure, while curved lines sort of like show like softness, or like maybe something being pinched. So it's like, how can we use straight lines and curved lines to our advantage artistically, and what do those things communicate? And that's sort of what I want to think about as we're doing this. Sort of see the deltoid sort of like it merges right here with the upper pec, and it sort of, you can see that wedging form going on right there. I need to pop back. No, sorry, it's on like a timer. You can turn the timer off. I guess I should probably. No, cancel. Pause it. It's better. Ah. Of course, I mean, we have like the head here. We can indicate that with a box, right? Because there's a head here, of course. I'm gonna know what I'm doing. Right. That's not perfect, obviously. It's hard to draw shapes. And keep in mind, I am like a beginner artist. I mean, I'm kind of just like trying to get across what it is that I am like learning. So like, again, I'm not perfect when it comes to a lot of the stuff, but do as I say, not as I do, you know? So it'd be more right there. We're not worrying too much about the face anyways, but we are worrying about these other things. The deltoid sort of like acts as this like cap right here when viewed from like the top, so that's sort of what we're doing there. And then that, I'll take I'm gonna take my darker softer pencil and sort of go in and darken up things where they need to be darkened up, mainly to show like overlap and weight. It's always funny drawing like men's nipples, because it's like, why do you have those? You know what I'm saying? So like my big thing here is like, again, like I know I'm not going to be anatomically the most correct, the most perfect, but it's like I'm really thinking about like shapes and stuff. That's kind of like one of the big things that I'm focusing on here. So it's like shapes and like masses, so on and so forth. So it's like how do I do all that? Like this arm right here is probably a bit too far up, but we're not worrying about the arms right now. We're sort of like worrying about the torso itself. So it's like, do we have those landmarks there? Do we have the large masses? It's like, if yes, then good. This right here is probably like, this probably needs to be toned down, like way down here. You know what I'm saying? And like that right there. You know, we're not worrying too much about that right there. So not perfect, as you can see, but we also are not warmed up yet. So it might get better as we go on, and I need to make it bigger. So that's my next goal with like this next one. Go ahead and skip through a couple to see what we're doing here. I believe so. I will say it's hard to find like female models that showcase a lot of like musculature. I see this guy a lot. This guy's in here like a ton. That guy too. I think this is a good one. So I'll go ahead and do this right here. Let me define my let me go ahead and define my space a bit better, so we have a bit more leeway. So I think here to like here probably be good. So line of action, it's kind of, I see a bit of this. It's like this into this. It's kind of like a very like faint like S curve, right? We are seeing, I see this upper mass. Again, it's tilted this way a bit. I see the side of it, so I see sort of, see that front plane kind of retracts a little bit because it's tilted a bit away from us, right? Like that, right there. Then I'm seeing a bit of that side plane. Actually, I am seeing a bit of the top of it too, so it's kind of tilted away and like down a little. I'm thinking right here. I'm like thinking I got like more perspective wrong because I feel like I do a little bit. I'm doing some thinking here because it's hard to like it is really hard to like break up. It's like when you're dealing with like an organic thing like the human body, it is hard to sort of like visualize a box on there. So I do see that we have our lines going here, and we're seeing a bit of like the side. I know we're seeing a bit of the side because I am seeing like the side of her body right here. You know what I mean? And we're seeing just a little bit of the top, so it is kind of like that right there. We're not seeing much of the top, but we are seeing that. Not perfect, but that's kind of like what I'm like seeing in my head a little bit. And then for like the pelvis, it's kind of tilted a bit more up like that right there. And we're seeing the side of it there, side and top of it. So you're kind of like that right there. Right. Okay. Now let's do, so like the thing, okay, so like I don't have a lot of experience drawing women. I do draw a lot of men usually, but like the thing with like the rib cage of like people is that it's gonna be pretty similar uh between like your men and women, like with like minor differences and like sort of like shapes and stuff, but we're going to be treating it pretty similarly because this is a pretty uh like this looks like a very athletic woman, so we're going to be treating her as having like a pretty like athletic build. You know what I mean? Sort of like see that right there. So uh, we know that this is our center line right here, like roughly. Let's just put that over there. It's gonna be like right there ish. We know that's gonna be like where our sternum is, and then of course you have your collarbones. They're gonna go out like that right there, and then you have like your arm joints, blah blah blah. But we see we do have the arch right here, and that's sort of we see that's kind of like curving in a bit. It's like flexed a little because she's bending forward, so kind of see that going on right there. We have, of course, the leg, which connects sort of like inside right there. We're not going to worry too much about that. We have from the back, you can see the lats, the latissimus blah blah blahs pretty easily. So that's kind of what you're seeing like behind her right here with like this little like pocket underneath her arm. She has like pretty widely defined lats. She has like some like a very like elaborate like undergarments going on right here. So that's kind of what those are right there. I can see sort of her like rib cage. If you see right there on the picture, you can sort of see a bit of like her like rib cage protruding, especially like when you're like looking right there. That is going to be like these ribs, uh, right here as they sort of like come out and then come back in. So that's a bit of what we're seeing right there. Very muscular uh, individual right here. Also, forgive me. I mean, this is going to come across as quite crass, quite crude, but I don't have a lot of experience drawing like breasts, so forgive me. We're going to be doing some simplification here. Uh, I do know that they sit on top of the pecs. Uh, they sit on top of the pecs, and they are like their own like little mass. But we're just gonna be using some crude shape design right here, and they're having their own sort of thing going on right here. I've not been doing a lot of research into the anatomy of this here, so you will have to forgive me with the accuracy of these masses right here. Um, guess while I'm doing some like sketching right here, I've been playing some Ghosts of Yote uh here recently on my PS5. And honestly, I'm having a fun time playing it. It is just more Ghost of Tsushima, which for me it's a good thing. I do like Ghost of Tsushima quite a bit, and it's been a minute since I have played uh Ghost of Tsushima, so it does feel fresh. But I have seen some complaints that if you have played Ghost of Tsushima before, uh, Ghost of Yote is gonna feel very familiar. And is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? It's for you to decide, of course. I think it's not a bad thing, but I do understand that as like a, you do want to sort of see some innovation from your studios. So I do understand that criticism there. We do see her abs, they do sort of like they've come in quite a bit. There's like so much line work going on here. You see sort of, you can see her like pecs, as you can see that they would like be right here ish. You can see the top pec is stretching out to meet her deltoid muscle right here, her front delts. So you're seeing that happening right there, and then that's like where the arms come out. Same thing for this right here. You're seeing her pec, which originates down here. You see it sort of like come up, and it's sort of like if you were to imagine like a chicken, like that would be like the 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 chicken breast. I mean, duh, right? Definitely a lot of overworking going on right here. This is a subject that I'm not uh too like sure about drawing right here, so I'm trying to pay attention and like get down the lines and everything right. So we know we got sort of this pit right here because that's where the back lats are coming into fruition. Then sort of we see the curve of the rib cage right here, right there, right. So that's going on. Then you have her garments right here, like that, right there. Of course, you have three dimensionality here, sort of coming out a little bit, coming in. If anything, the garments do help. They sort of help define, because clothes do wrap around forms quite predictably. So it's like you can use those as sort of like a gauge on what it is you are what it is you are trying to draw. See her head, sort of right there. Sternum's right in there, and you have the ribs coming out. See, you can see the oh my gosh, what is it? The serratus magnus right there on her. That is sort of like right there. Sort of can see her abs right here, and those are sort of they're sort of they're curved down a little bit like that, right there. Of course, you have the leg that's sort of it's doing its own thing here. You can see the glutes right here, a bit of like striation going on there from like the thigh to like you can see like the glutes back here, but there's sort of like a sort of the shape that we're seeing there. To be this muscular and this lean, it's very hard, I will say. From experience, putting on muscle is not the easiest thing in the world, and I do commend uh, individuals for like training for like extended periods of time to achieve such levels of physical fitness. Very admirable, mainly just because I do know how hard it can be. So I got that going on right there. Okay, what I'm thinking of while I'm doing this, I'm like, okay, how do we use straight lines and curved lines to show different things? It's like, okay, if you have a straight line, can you have like an antagonistic like uh like an antagonistic curve line, you know, like thinking about things like that. I mean, obviously this doesn't look very perfect. I think I got her frame a bit too wide. That is my fault, obviously. She's got huge like traps too, which is again very impressive. Okay, that's pretty much. I'm settling on that right there for that right there. It's very messy. I should have erased a bit in between that right there. But those are the two that we have for that right there. See, as you can tell, I'm not too uh like versed in drawing like the female body, so I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't apologize too much. Should I apologize for my shortcomings? Chat, should this guy apologize for his own shortcomings? If you think so, leave a comment down in the comments. Should this guy delete his channel? Yes. Yes, I should. All right, let's see. That's a guy's butt. This is a pretty head-on. We'll do this one right here because I think this demonstrates a lot without like a lot of perspective shenanigans going on, a lot of perspective shenaniganizing. So we got that upper form, we got the lower form, we got the pelvis down here. There's a bit of a lean going on. Consider that flat. Sort of seeing there's a slight curve to his spine. So we'll show about that right there. I guess we could also think of, we don't need to draw this as a box. We can like angle it down as sort of like a trapezoid too. I guess it doesn't really matter all that much, but because this is from the front, there's really not a lot of like twisting or turning that's being done right here. It's all pretty straightforward, so I guess that makes it a bit easier for what we're doing right here. But we'll go ahead and we'll, you got your egg shape for your egg shape for your rib cage, right? And that goes down here, and then you have sort of, if you were to think of your like pelvis, it's like a bowl right here, you know what I mean? But this guy, he's standing up pretty straight, so there's not a lot of like tilt going over here. If anything, he's probably like tilting his pelvis forward a bit more, so we don't really need to do much there. So yeah, have your abs that sort of connects down in the middle, and like Bridgman sort of demonstrates the abs as sort of like being like this like shape in the middle right here. So yeah, then you got your arm sockets right here. You got, this is where your neck comes out of right here. Bleh. Sort of what we're looking at right there. So we have the top of the abdominal arch right here, and that is going to be, for this guy, his he seems to have a very like wide abdominal arch right here. Well, we'll just show it as sort of that little curve right there. We know that the sternum is going to be straight as always, and then his pecs are very flat. They sort of like look like this right here, you know. Then they come up to meet the arms. There's his pepperonis right there. Don't worry, I didn't forget them. I didn't forget them. You can see that they sort of like they his pecs his lower pecs, they have a bit of a T thing going on right there, but that's pretty nice for us because it lets us show that there's a bit of a plane change going on right there. So the thing with like this guy here is that he has some pretty big lats that he is purposefully flexing from the back right here, and those sort of like read as like big old wings that we're seeing from the behind right there. But we have the bottom right here, we have the serratus magni, and you can see those three little bumps from those ribs going on right there. You can definitely see his ribs on his like right side right here. On that side you can definitely see him, and sort of they end with the like that right there, and then it sort of turns into the abs right there, and those sort of have their own little three-dimensional thing going on right there. We're not gonna do those very in depth, but just know that there's a bit of stuff going on right there. It's kind of, I think I drew the pelvis a little bit too low, but that's all right. We can sort of like bring it up a little. It's sort of more like right there ish, because you can see that his sort of, you get that like V taper shape that goes down to the groin right there. But it is creating this interesting like U shape right here. Of course, you have like the delts right here. They sit as like these caps that extend out from the collarbone right here. And sort of, you got this like T shape, or this like trapezoidal shape from like the back delton traps, sort of like where the neck is like coming out of right there. You sort of like this little it's hard work learning anatomy and not being a very good artist. It's hard and it's tough work, trust me, buddy. You got the arms that are like sort of like up here. Again, we're not doing a lot of anything right there. Just know that these things do exist right there, and they're doing their own thing. Like sort of these things. Darken them babies up. Boom, boom. Sort of like forming like that little shape right there. It's like a like this like round, this like big round shape that's going on in here. You got the navel right there. I'm like looking at it right here. I'm like, oh, that sucks. That's all right. This is good practice. I'm trying to be like observational at the very least, because even if my ability isn't perfect, I'm still trying to observe what's going on here. I'm really trying to observe those like shapes, like how the muscle is like being formed. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to keep an eye on that. It's got big old abs. Sort of, those are some like lines right there. Okay. It also looks weird when there's like not like a head, when it's just like a floating like body, you know what I'm saying? So it's always, imagine there was like a head all the way up here. He was like looking that way. Our imaginary guy. All right. We're calling it that on that one there. But should I do this next one a bit more loose? I kind of feel like doing this next one a bit more loose. So maybe not doing as much construction and maybe just freeballing it a bit more. Yeah, that's just the guy's butt again. Well, I kind of need a front view more because I'm not focusing on the back too much yet. Yeah, it's a bit better. I think it's good to balance. It's like one male, one female. Okay. We're gonna do this one. We're gonna try and do this one a bit more gesturally speaking. So we got our line of action right here. We got sort of that right there. That's the top of our large mass, and then we got the bottom of like our hips right here, right? I think we got sort of this thing. We're seeing a bit of the side of that. Not much of the top of it, so it's kind of like that right there. That's what I'm feeling right there. Maybe not as maybe I need to sort of bring it in a little bit more, maybe not make it as wide. So what I'm seeing right here is we do have sort of I do see the ribs right there. I can sort of see them as they do their plane change, and that's gonna fall like pretty much like right there. So we'll bring it, and we see the ribs change direction right there. That's what I'm seeing. So I'm gonna show that with like a dark line, right? And we know that that's gonna fall pretty much in line right here. So we're gonna do like the same thing right here. We do know that there's gonna be like the ribs right there. She is sort of like raising her like arms up. Do a more gestural one if you don't mind. Yeah. You're just like sitting here like he's overworking the hell. He's overworking the hell out of these things right here. It's driving me insane. So we have the rib cage right there. That's gonna form the abdominal arch. It's gonna sort of be sort of like it's this arch shape kinda that comes down into like two lines like it's a doorway, right? It's gonna align with the bottom right here. We have the top of the pelvis, which is gonna be like right there. You can sort of see it poking at the top there, kind of like where her like underwear is. Right there. You can sort of see that right there. That comes down, of course. You're just curious to see how you would approach it differently. So yeah, whenever I'm like doing whenever I'm doing it stuff more quickly and gesturally, I guess sometimes it is good to not have to like worry too much about like getting everything exact. I'm looking a bit more for like fluidity, motion, but I'm paying a bit more attention to the landmarks a bit more, I'd say, which is something that I could like do a bit better a lot of the time. So you see definitely right here, you can see the top of her chest. It's sort of being, because her arms are raised, it's being pinched up a lot. Like right here, right above the sternum, because her arms are like up and above her. That's sort of what I'm getting at right there. And you sort of see that raise right there. Then you have, I'm not too sure about like the shape of like the armpits. I'm just gonna show them as sort of this I know that they have a bit more than what I'm letting on here. But again, I'm not too sure how the armpits work, so I'm just gonna do it as some like scribbles up here. Of course, you have. I know, you can't draw breasts as just like circles because they're not that. They're like lumps, but I'm not too sure how to do them here. It's looking like a bra here at the very least. It goes up and then it sort of like curves around like that right there. That sort of aligns with like the lats back there. Those are like two black shapes. This is also a darker pencil, so my line weights are not going to be absolutely perfect. I like the armpit right here again. It sort of it looks like it's making like the shape right here, sort of like a kite almost. That's gonna do it. And of course you got like the uh, arms doing their things up here. You know, of course she has a neck. That sort of starts like right there. Sort of. We're gonna imagine her head. That's her like the side plane right there. Sort of see a bit of it. she just has a cube for a head. That's what we're imagining that as right there. Do you see sort of her, because she is like bending this way a little bit. We're seeing some like pinching there. Really, her abs are very defined. So you're sort of seeing that right there. Her navel. It's like right here, and then you can even, she's like so muscular. You can see like her her glutes from the front. Just insane. Just insane. Just as a person who does like lift frequently, that's like I just cannot express like how insane that is. Yeah. Sort of she even like has like you can see like the sort of like the pit. She's like so lean. You can see the pit in between like where her like abs are. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of, it's very rough, of course, because I'm doing a lot of lines, but like you can sort of like see what I'm like getting at, what I'm trying to look for. It's like, okay, I'm like first off, I'm looking for the ribs. I'm looking for that arch. You can sort of see, I don't know if you can see right there. You can see where her ribs protrude a little bit. I know that's a landmark, right? Uh Same thing with like the hips. You can kind of see like where her hips sort of protrude a little right there. And then everything in between, that's more like muscles and like the, was it the serratus magnus serratus, the blah blah blah, that thing. Yeah, that thing. Like right there. And then it like goes into the obliques. She doesn't really have like massive obliques, because if you look at like Bridgman's drawings, he draws the, if we were going to like look at like this sketch right here, Bridgman would draw the obliques as like these like big masses that are like right here. You know what I mean? And it's like, depending on the individual, you're not going to have very like massive obliques. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's not really realistic. What he's just trying to do when he draws them big is to show you that like those are muscles that are going to like be there. You know, so it's like something that you should ultimately like look out for. You can like erase a lot of like construction lines and see a bit like better. And not not perfect, but you sort of you can see what we are getting at there. I hope that this was helpful. Again, I'm still like pretty like new to the whole anatomy thing, so it's like, of course, all that I am showing you here is gonna be a little. It's gonna be a little wonky until I can get like a better understanding out of all of it. But for the meantime, I hope that this was a bit eye-opening to like uh, the idea that not everybody is going to be like a master of it, like especially like something like as complex as like anatomy. Well, hopefully like the more like I'm learning about all this stuff, you'll be able to like see my growth a bit more. That's kind of like what I'm hoping for. It's kind of what I'm hoping for. uh See, if this were Bridgman, he would have like, you sort of like have your serratus magnus, and it's sort of like it comes down right here, and then your obliques would just like pop out. That's what Bridgman would say right there. But rarely are your obliques going to be that defined, unless you're like a behemoth, or maybe you have a lot of like subcutaneous fat. You know what I mean? But anyways, I think like I don't think this one is bad, but that's just because it's a guy. I draw more men, but then this one right here, I'm like, oh my god, like, like kill me, God. I'm like I'm not the best artist to be like drawing women. There are a lot more people out there who can like draw women, especially in a more flattering way than I can. Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll tip the camera back up a little bit. You see my Lego thing back there? Isn't that pretty cool? Uh, Look at it as much while you can here, because I'm about to turn it into the portrait mode here. Oh, Lord. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Heyo. Hey, everybody. It's nighttime. You can see from the beginning of the stream, it's just it's a lot more different. Okay. Um, Thank you everybody for watching the stream. I think I had a really good time. I'm sorry that I had to delay the stream a bit because I had I went camping. Um, and I slept in a hammock and it rained on us. I did not get wet. And I was actually pretty warm the entire night. It got down to 43 degrees. But one of my friends that I went camping with, he did unfortunately lose I guess he didn't lose. He didn't bring a big enough tarp. So he lost a lot of body heat. He got wet, which I thought was very funny. And I felt bad for him. But when we hiked back up in the morning, we definitely dried off a lot just because it was like you're warming up. And it was raining in the morning. He was cold. I was warm. I was a little bit too warm. I slept in a hammock. Did I say I slept in a hammock? I can't remember if I said I slept in a hammock. It was quite a good experience. I like camping. I enjoy camping. I didn't make a video out of this camping trip because I knew it would be raining, and also like I didn't feel like making a camping video this week. So that's why I didn't do that. But just know I had a lot of fun. I took a few pictures. I got to experience nature. There's something about being like in the middle of the woods that is it's very cathartic, and I enjoy it very much. But yeah, enough yapping. I'm getting a little sleepy, and this diet root beer is not going to drink itself. I think that we did. I think we did. I'm like holding it up right here right now. I'm like, oh, that looks so bad, so stupid. But these are the things that we drew today. They're rough, but we're learning, and that's all that's important. Stay tuned with me as we learn more anatomy in the coming weeks, probably the coming months. I'm going to be doing this for like probably a few months, probably throughout the entire winter, because this is something that does require a bit of tenacity and sort of it requires like a depth in that sort of way. So please, if you enjoyed this, stick around for the journey. Go to the Discord. We got a lovely community of artists there who are sharing incredible work. And like I'm very happy that we got like a tiny little community going on over there. Feels like another group of friends that I've like never met in real life, but I feel like I know them. So if you'd like to be a part of that little family, go ahead and check out the Discord. Also for like announcements and stuff, but like who really cares about that? But all right, helpful. Okay, I hope it was helpful. Thank you for my ego. My ego is like my ego has been inflated 1,000 times. Thank you so much. I hope everybody has a good night. I'm gonna go goof off a little bit. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go goof off for a little bit. We'll catch you not this coming Saturday, but the Saturday after. We'll probably still be talking about the torso, probably the back of the torso. So like I'll take the next week to like study the front of the torso a little bit better, get my practice in there, and then we'll move on to sort of like the back muscles of the torso, and that's going to encompass sort of the rear delts, the traps, the mid back, and the lats, like the like the rhomboid muscle, like whatever it is right there. So we will catch you then. I hope everybody has a great night, and goodbye. Good. Bye. Goodbye.